everyone, welcome to video number 3. Whoop whoop. Happy days. Thank you all for joining me again today, and I hope that you're enjoying this process just as much as I am. I love having my little time to research these, bring you the information. It is definitely my little time for me, which is mummies we need to be doing more of. So yes, welcome. And I hope you find this one just as interesting. Last one's the Beaver Brothers. That was hard going, you know, that was a gruesome in detail and not very pleasant. So this one's not much better, I'll be honest, although it's not as graphic. It's not as graphic. But there's a lot of murder. Well, that's why we're here. So hopefully you enjoy. Sit back, relax, grab yourself a little cup of tea, coffee, a little juice. I know the sun is shining, so everybody's happy. I've been enjoying some wonderful family time, and now I'm going to enjoy some wonderful mummy time, and I hope you enjoy it with me. So here we go. Today's case is about the dating game killer. Have you heard of him? Neither had I, but it gets good. So this is about Rodney Alcala. He was born Rodrigo. Cannot speak today. I'm blaming the heat. That's it. I'm blaming the heat. He was born Rodrigo Jacques Alcala Bajur. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was born in 1943 in August the 23rd, and he was born in San Antonio, Texas. His parents were Raul and Anna, and he also had 2 sisters. Now, in 1951, his father, he decided that he was going to move the family to Mexico because of his grandmother's ailing health, Rodney's grandmother's ailing health, and they were there for about 3 years, give or take. And after the 3 years of being in Mexico, his dad decided that he just had enough and left the entire family, just abandoned them. So after bringing them all to Mexico, he just left, just abandoned his family. Sure, as you do. The following year, in I think it was 1954, his mother decided that she'd had enough and she was moving back to USA, and then moved to the suburban part of Los Angeles, where Rodney went to school. He seemed, by all accounts, to be very popular. He was on the yearbook committee. He ran in the athletics. He had girlfriends. He got good grades. He seemed to just be a good, popular, well-liked child. So yeah, that I'm not sure what happened. So that brings us on. He graduated, and by the age of 17 in 1961, he decided that he wanted to join the United States Army, and this is exactly what he did. He joined the army and became a clerk for the army. Now, a short while after starting, unfortunately, his father passed away, and this had a deep impact upon him. He ended up having a mental breakdown. He went AWOL from the army, and he hitchhiked his way back to his mother's house. The military psychiatrist team, obviously they caught up with him eventually, they diagnosed him with an antisocial disorder, which is just crazy. You know, how did he go from being Mr. Popular to having an antisocial disorder? But that's, you know, his father dying really had a big impact upon his mental health at that stage of his life. So he was discharged on medical grounds from the army. Still young, he went to university. He went and studied at the UCLA of Fine Arts, and he graduated from there. He later went on to study film in New York under Roman Polanski, and by all accounts, he was doing very well, which makes what comes next so shocking, so surprising. And how did this happen? He abducted an 8-year-old girl. So strange, you know, there didn't appear to be anything leading up to this point. He just abducted this girl. So in 1968, he was witnessed by a member of the public with this 8-year-old girl walking down the street, and the member of the public thought something is a bit off about this, and they decided to follow him and the girl, and they got into a car. They got into Alcala's car, the Alcala and the 8-year-old girl, and the member of the public got into their car, and he followed them back to Alcala's house, and he's like, this is off, something's fishy, it's not good. Obviously, it being 1968, no mobile phones were about, couldn't just whip out the phone and be like, hello, please come here. So he had to go find a phone the police, explain to the police what happened, and police did. They came out to the house, police knocked the door, and he's like, I'll be right with you, 1 minute please. But yeah, he was not. No, he was not. He decided that he was going to actually do a runner out the back door, stark naked. Not a stitch of clothing on him. He ran out the door. So police, they enter the house, find little 8-year-old, I think it's Tally Shapiro, on the floor, barely clinging on for dear life, Gulliver. She ended up in a coma for 30 days. I think he had hit her over the head. I'm not entirely sure of the details. But yeah, she ended up in a coma for 30 days. And unfortunately, Alcala, he got away. And he ran. He ran to New York. He changed his name to John Berger. And he got a job in a drama summer camp. Yes. Obviously, he used his alias name, so, you know, I don't know how well background checks were even done back in them days either. So, anyhow, 2 of the kids from the drama camp actually had spotted a most wanted poster. And on this most wanted poster was Rodney Alcala. And they were like, that's our camp counsellor. So they went to another staff member, and staff member was like, yeah, okay. They phoned the police, and he got extradited back to California, which is where he performed his offence on little 8-year-old girl. So back he comes, and unfortunately at this point the Shapiro family, they had actually moved to Mexico, and they did not want their daughter to go through the horrific experience again. They didn't want to put her on trial. They didn't want her to be testifying. They didn't want that. Which, you know what? You can understand that that's horrific, you know. By the time they had caught up with him, perhaps she had started to deal with daily life a little bit better. And, you know, to bring it all back again, probably not. So, anyway, he was charged. He pleaded guilty, but it was for a lesser crime. He was charged with assault, which I suppose he did do, but it's a lesser crime than what he actually did do to that little girl. So in California, as far as I could pick up, back in the 1960s, 70s, they were all about rehabilitating, reforming, more of that when you went to prison. So he got what I think it's called an intermediate sentence. So that means that basically he went into prison until he was deemed to have reformed or been rehabilitated in order to join society again. So he was in there for 34 months, not long at all, not even 2 years. And yeah, he was not reformed. I don't know what they did to think that he had been, you know, put on the good path. But no, he was out. He was on parole when he was out. So he was on parole. So there's still some sort of legal monitoring system there for him. But during that time, so this was 1974ish, he then kidnapped a 13-year-old girl. He gave her drugs. I think it was marijuana. And it's reported that he kissed her. I didn't find anything else to say that he did anything else to her. but yeah. So he was caught and he was charged with giving drugs to a minor and violating his parole. And this landed him back into prison for another intermediate sentence of two years again. So this brings us to 1977. And wouldn't it be lovely to say that after all that time spent getting all the professional help that he probably needed, that he came out a reformed, wonderful character. This did not happen. He was released, and in 1977 he asked his parole, he got permission from the parole board to go and visit his family in New York. While he was in New York, he decided that he was going to murder another beautiful young lady, and she went by the name of Ellen Jane Hoover. She was 23 years old. So not old at all, whole life ahead of her. Now, the only link that they had to Alcala and Ellen was the fact that she had wrote in her diary and her daybook that she had a meeting with a John Berger, which, remember, his alias, that day. So he would have been the last person in potentially to see her alive, if nothing else. So that's what linked him to her. So while all this is going on, he goes back to LA after visiting family. He goes back to LA. He gets a job as a typesetter for the LA Times. And during that time, the FBI come in and they question him about Ellen Hoover's death. And he says, "Oh, I knew Ellen. Yep, I knew her, but I did not murder her." So he knew enough to be like, "Yeah, I knew her, and that's why my name was on her datebook. That we were meeting that day, but I didn't murder her." Because they had no physical evidence, there was no body found, they couldn't link him to that murder. So sad, because this beautiful girl at age 23, just poof, wiped out. A life wiped out. Now, in 1978, Rodney decides to try something a little bit different, and he applies and is accepted for the dating game, which is a bit like Blind Date, as far as I know. You know, sorry, a bit like Blind Date, but it's called the dating game in the USA, and he was brought in as contestant number 1. And to my surprise, and I think everybody's surprise, he actually went on and won it. Now, when the cameras were on, he was on fire. He was a smooth talker. But when the cameras were off, he was just arrogant, creepy, not nice. And this is from the other 2 contestants. There is a documentary about this on YouTube. You can look it up. It's very good. It's very interesting, actually. There is a criminal psychologist. You have all the district attorneys, police, anybody that was actually involved in the cases with him. Very good, very interesting. I do encourage you to watch it. So, yeah, he was on the dating game. He won the date. Thankfully, the woman, she went backstage to have a little chat with him, afterwards, just, yeah, hi, she was like, he is so creepy. She just did not get good vibes. And she was like, no, this is not happening. She did not go on a date with Rodney at all, which probably saved her life at this point. It probably saved her life. I'm sure she's looking back going, thank God. I was like, no, you're so creepy. Nah, it's not happening. The other contestants on that show did not like him at all. They just could not stand him. And that comes through in the documentary. They'll explain to you, why and what was said and things like that. But he wasn't a group, really, participant. No. So, unfortunately, what we think happened next then is that due to the rejection, and it was probably quite a public rejection, because if anybody was to follow up, they never went on the date, which is quite sad, I suppose. All that time and picking your person and then being like, oh, you give me the heebie-jeebies. Ooh. Or what is it to say now? You give me the ick. This is the ick. So, they're saying that, it's not funny, I'm laughing, it's not funny. They said that they think this then fueled his anger, the rejection of it all. Oh my God, I'm so rejected. Fueled his anger, and he went on to kill like 3 other women in a very short space of time. So yeah. This brings us up now to 1979, which is his last known victim. Nobody's saying it's his last one, but it's his last known victim. And unfortunately, that was little 12-year-old Robin Samso. Yeah, 12 years old. He abducted her on her way to a ballet class. Now, I have actually read reports that he did try to abduct her and her friend the day before. He tried to lure them away with drugs. Because that's what that is obviously the only thing 12-year-old girls want is drugs. But the neighbour, she came out and caught him and chased him away. So away he went. But he came back the next day and got her and abducted her. He took her to like a forest park type of thing. There was forest rangers and stuff there. So on the 20th of June, a park ranger had witnessed a man walking down a stream with a young girl. The description of the man was, and the car that he was driving was the same as Rodney Alcala's. So this is what the ranger obviously passed on. Now, some will say that the ranger witnessed him dragging the girl, but I refuse to believe that, because if you witness someone dragging a young girl and you witness a man dragging a young girl kicking and screaming, surely your first instinct would be go over and check what's going on. Not even as the park ranger, as a human being in life. So I'm going to choose to believe that she was willingly walking down the stream thinking that she was going to get her pictures taken by this fabulous photographer. That's what I'm choosing to believe. Anyway, 12 days later, her little body was discovered in the area where the park ranger had said they had went. Now, about a month later, on 24th of July, there was a search that took place of Rodney's mother's house. And during the search, they found a key to a storage unit. And it was for a storage unit in Seattle. So off they tootled to Seattle to this storage unit. And in the storage unit, they found pictures upon pictures of young girls, young women. I think there was a couple of young boys, but mainly young girls and young women. Hundreds of pictures, naked, in their swimwear. Some he actually stood in with them. Some were very explicit. It's just horrific. Just horrific how explicit some of these pictures were. So they also found a little pack of earrings, because as we know, some serial killers like to take little trophies for themselves, and his little trophies seem to be the earrings. So yeah. In 1980 then, he was charged for the murder of Robin Samso, little 12-year-old Robin Samso, and he got the death sentence, which is rightly so. Unfortunately, this was not just overturned one time, but it was overturned twice. First time because apparently the jury was informed of his prior convictions. So this, I suppose, puts an onus on this person who he is. So he's guilty before he even has a trial, which is not a fair trial, blah, blah, blah. And the second one, because one of the jurors apparently had been hypnotised. So that was overturned. So he was no longer on death row. But thankfully, finally, DNA, gotta love it, caught up with him. In 2010, Rodney Alcala was charged with 5 murders, one of which being little Robin. Thank God. So another 4 after Robin. So you had Jill Barkham, Georgia Wickstead, Charlotte Lamb, and Jill Parenteau. sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't do these names. He was guilty on all counts and he was sentenced to death. And I would love to tell you that that was the end of it and he was sentenced and we were all done. Nope, not the case. In 2012, he actually pleaded guilty to 2 murders in New York. One of a Coralina Crilly and Ellen Hoover. Remember little Ellen? Or Ellen, 23-year-old. So he pleaded guilty. So there was another 2 life sentences added on. And the police then, they decided that they were going to release some of the pictures that they had found to the public in hopes that people would come forward, this is me, that's my picture, or this is my long lost family member. 120 pictures were released. Now, there was like 900 plus pictures found, but there was only like 920 that could be released to the public. The rest were far too explicit and could not be released to the public. So 120 released to the public. Only 21 women came in and said, yep, that was me. What's even sadder is only 6 families were able to come in and say, that's my family member, that's my long lost, we haven't heard from them since, 6 families. Of 120 pictures, 6 families, 21 women. So sad. So sad. But this led to him being charged with another murder in 2016 of Christine Ruth Thornton. So nobody knows. Nobody is aware of how many young girls he assaulted, molested, how many young women he killed, what his motives even were. It's so sad. And unfortunately, he died while waiting on his execution date. He died on death row of natural causes at an old age of 77 in 2021. So he's not that, he's like a dead a year. I just think ridiculous. You know, how could you let him sit after another murder charge in 2016? His execution date should come a lot sooner. A lot sooner. But that's my opinion. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed and found it as interesting as I do. Next time I'm going to bring you a lady killer. Hopefully you will find it just as interesting. And so yeah, I will talk to you later. Any comments, any suggestions, stick them in the comment section, and I will see you later. Bye!